Welcome everybody to another edition of New Japan here in 2004 as we're continuing on the road through 2004 and we are starting the Summer Struggle Tour, which will be this video. Basically what's going to happen is I'm going to do some highlights of the major shows and then do the ending Summer Struggle show, which is in Sapporo this year when I looked at the schedule. And we'll set everything up. Like I said, we'll probably hit 4 shows, maybe 5, but since there's only 12 total shows on the tour, including the Summer Struggle Tour, at least what I set up, I think 4 shows plus the final will be enough, or maybe not even that. Again, it just depends on how much I actually figure out what to do here. But we're starting out. Well, actually, let me fix this first. We're going to be in Hurricane. One downside about these huge venue packs is you lose where you actually want to go. There we go. All right. We're in Kurgan, and we're starting with a big night of some interesting matches, basically to start the lead up to the Summer Struggle. As we did have some stuff on the undercard throughout the Junior Heavyweight Tour, like we had Tanahashi Blue Wolf winning the tag titles, Tenzan and Nagata getting big wins, including over Suzuki and Takayama. And then we had some other fun stuff on the undercard, including Minoru Suzuki getting a big win over 2 parts of Supernova Gun, and some other fun stuff. But nothing too exciting, as the focus was the Junior Best of Super Juniors Tour title, which Liger won, defeating Collection AT. Regardless, we're going to start off here with the show in Korakuen. As we start off with an opening match of Matsuda Nagai defeating Naofumi Yamamoto in 10:26 by submission. This gets a 37. Nagai, who honestly I should probably push a little more, gets a 56. Yamamoto gets a 29, which means he's slowly getting turned up, but they're both pre-show people, so this gets knocked down to a 37. But still, sold out show here in Korakuen. And then move forward with a sort of a Young Lions tag match, as well, at least half of it, as Ryoto and Yoshi get the win over Nago and Anzawa in a little under 10 minutes with the back fist from Yoshi. Yoshi and Ryoto are both purely undercard folks, probably until their contract is up, or until I get enough new people rising up that I can sort of replace them. Regardless, Nagawa and Ikaya are both still Young Lion folks. And yeah, Ryoto gets a 31 because he's injured, Yoshi gets a 35, Nagawa gets a 25, and Anzawa gets a 24. Moving up to some matches that matter, as Tiger Mask and Motoro Inoue defeat Takamura and Sugawara in a sort of big match here, as Tiger Mask and 4 and Inoue sort of solidify their claim as possible number 1 contenders to the junior tag titles with another win here. As Tiger Mask 4 did fight to a draw versus Kanemoto, I believe. As this gets a 54, Inoue gets a 41, Tiger Mask 4 gets a 56, Sugawara gets a 42, and Takamura gets a 46. And then after that, we have basically a squash for Sasaki and Nakanishi, as they get the win over the Young Lions team of Goto and Yano in a 28. When Nakanishi gets a 57, Sasaki gets a 70, Yano gets a 27, and Goto gets a 36. So Goto's also up there. Once he basically is out of the Young Lions zone, I'm going to figure out an angle to actually move him up to sort of the main roster. But regardless, this gets a 52. And unfortunately, Nakanishi did get an injury, but this looks like an injury where he'll have to just work through it, unfortunately for him. Then move forward in our first sort of big match of the night, as in the first defense of the tag titles, as a result of American Dragon getting a big win over, I think it was Kanemoto, or I'll have to double check, one of the members of the junior tag champs. They get their title shot here, but unfortunately for them, Mono Collection AT and Kanemoto make defense number 3 of their junior heavyweight tag titles, defeating American Dragon and Caribbean in 14:43 when Wano gets the win over Curryman. It's a little bit of saving for American Dragon, but a big win here for the junior tag champs, as this gets a 71, Kanemo gets a 70, Collection AT gets a 60, Yansen gets a 63, and Curryman gets a 59. And Rollins gets a 71, so really good match. And then we have just a complete squash to put Norton over, as he just kills Yasuda in 6 minutes with a pinfall. Big beefy guys hitting each other, but really looking dominant here. Eventually hitting a powerbomb for the pinfall victory here, as this gets a 55, Norton gets a 60, Yasuda gets a 40. So Norton can still do some solid stuff in the mid card, so he's not totally worthless yet, but there's some time ticking on these older 90s guys. And then in a big match, as Liger did win the Best of Super Juniors, but his only real close defeat was against Fujita, who fought to a draw. So they have this match, and Liger gets the win over Fujita with the sheer drop range gesture in 16 minutes. As this gets a 64, Liger gets a 71, Fujita gets a 37, and a big win for Liger. And what happens after this is Ultimo Dragon's music hits, and he comes out from the back to a big pop, and he shakes Liger's hands. They exchange some mic work where Dragon challenges him for Summer Struggle in Sapporo. Liger explains he has a junior title shot. Ultimo Dragon seems upset at this, but they both shake hands, and he walks away. And this gets a 64. Ooh, and Dragon's gimmick was an awful. That's unfortunate for him. Oh well, hopefully that'll get fixed. And then, in a defense number 6 of his under 30 openweight title, Tanahashi defeats Kodaka in 12 minutes by pinfall. This only gets a 62 because of a lack of clicking, but Tanahashi gets a 62, Kodaka gets a 52, as 2 belts Tanahashi holds up his under 30 heavyweight title and the half of the tag champs after the match, as this gets a 62 solid win for Tanahashi, and honestly just a strong win here for it to continue to look like a strong under 30 champion and part of the new generation of New Japan wrestlers. And then in our semi-main event, Nagata and Tenzan get a big win after getting their big wins at Best of Super Juniors, defeating Barnett and Azuka of the Shooters in 1954, when Tenzan pins Azuka with the Tenzan Tombstone Driver. This gets a 73, Tenzan gets a 73, Nagata gets a 73, Azuka gets a 55, and Barnett gets a 57. So just a big, strong win to really make Nagata and Tenzan look strong. And then we have our main event, as of course, after last night, after the Best of Super Juniors, Chono and Nakamura teamed up to take on the team of Goldberg and Fujita, but Goldberg and Fujita got the win, and then Chono turned on Nakamura. And now, teaming up is Goldberg and Chono teaming up, and they defeat 2/3 of Supernova Gun as Nakamura and over Nishimura, and a little under 10 minutes, when Goldberg pins Nakamura, instead of the spear, but it's jackhammer, as Chono and Nishimura brawl outside, but a huge win for Goldberg over the IWGP champion once again. And post-match, we have basically the official setup for the IWGP Heavyweight Title match at Summer Struggle in Sapporo, which is going to be Nakamura defending against Goldberg. And then, yes, Goldberg, Chono and Nishimura's back with Nakamura, and then Goldberg is standing at the top of the ramp when some familiar music hits, and out comes Road Warrior Animal. But then, after another moment, some other familiar music hits, and out comes Rick Steiner, backing up Goldberg. And it looks like Goldberg is going to have some backup here in New Japan with his own stable of one half of 2 of the most impressive teams, engaging tag teams in New Japan history. Of course, the Road Warriors and the Steiner brothers. So this gets a 67, and honestly, what I saw here was these guys were available. They're over in Japan. They work well as a group with Goldberg, and yeah, they're not going to do a lot here because look at them, they're in their mid-40s. But they can still, they're not still totally terrible in the ring. So let's just see what they do. But we finish the show here, and this gets a 70. Oh, whoops! I know what happened here. This was supposed to be a tour show, but I put it as a major show. I mean, that tag match was big enough that I think we were okay, regardless. Let's see here. Survey says, and there's some other news that starts people being out for a bit that I'm also going to show you guys before we go on to the second show. So I think we're going to do the 2 opening shows here from Korakuen, and then there'll be a couple shows throughout the week, and then we go there. Jericho's touring, which is nice for him. Mail-wise, Nakanishi's, yeah, let me just double check. Medical, so this will show you guys. Okay, so right now, we have Nakanishi, who's, okay, he's just, he's out for 6 days, so, yeah, whatever. But some interesting stuff. So we got Shibata and Murakami both out from MMA training, which is unfortunate, but that's, honestly, what can you do? Then we have Naruse also out from MMA training. He's out for 2 months, so there you go. Then we have 2 other interesting things. So first, Makabe is away filming. I think it's for a TV show, and he's out for 42 days. So 1/3 of Supernova Gun is out for the moment. And then also Takayama is also away filming, but he'll be out for 3 months. That's part of why I needed to get that big Takayama match done at Best of Super Juniors, is basically I wouldn't have Takayama for a while. And also one reason why he dropped. And who will be replacing Makabe, at least for the next little bit, will be explained in the next couple tour shows, but also, as we go. Anyway, be back in just a second with the next show on the tour. All right, time for our second night at Korakuen Hall, as we've got several big tag matches and a couple other fun matches to continue to set up what the rest of the tour is going to be like, and of course the big summer struggle in Sapporo show. And as far as pre-booking goes, I officially added, let me get to it, Goldberg versus Nakamura for the IWGP title, and Liger versus Heat for the junior tag for the junior heavyweight title. But let's get rolling with our next show. As we start out with Kurayman defeating Jado in a dark match, as Jado only has about a week in his contract, so I'm just dropping him out here. As this gets 6 minutes, Kurayman goes over, Jado gets a 43, Kurayman gets a 59, and hopefully Kurayman gets some overness. Then we officially open the show with Yamamoto defeating Yano in 8:37 by submission with Tex Cloverleaf hold in a Young Lion battle. Yamamoto gets the win here, as he's at a 32, Yano's at a 24, so a strong win for Yamamoto here. And then we have Ishimori getting a bit of a momentum reversal as he defeats Enzoa with a big superstar elbow, as he gets a 45, Ishimori gets a 52, Enzoa gets a 24, and solid win here for Ishimori as we can build him back up. After that is sort of the first kind of match that matters here, as in a fun match here that goes a little under 15 minutes. Hanoi, the little mini trio of Tiger Mask 4, Heat, and Hanoi get the big win over Collision AT, one half of the junior tag champs, Sugawara and Takamura in 14:53. When Tiger Mask 4 pins Sugawara with the big Tiger suplex hold. This gets a 60, Takamura gets a 47, Sugawara gets a 42, Collision AT gets a 61, Hanoi gets a 45, he gets a 58, and Tiger Mask 4 gets a 55. So the junior heavyweight champion gets to look strong here, and the tag team of Tiger Mask and Hanoi get, at least in part, a win over one half of the junior tag champs. And then we have El Samurai getting a win over Roderick Strong in a little over 12 minutes by via pinfall. This gets a 57, Samurai gets a 55, Strong gets a 48. Just a solid undercard match to put Samurai over and let Strong still look like not that bad. And then we really have our undercard 6-man as Nagata, Tenzan, and Blue Wolf, so at least one half of the tag champs, along with two of our bigger stars, defeat the mid-card morass of Yasuda, Kodaka, and Nagai in 9:55. When Nagata pins Yasuda with a wrist clutch exploder, this gets a 67, Blue Wolf gets a 47, Tenzan gets a 73, Nagata gets a 75, Nagai gets a 56, Kodaka gets a 54, and Yasuda gets a 45. So there you go, some fun stuff there. And then, in a bit of an interesting match here, Azuka and Barnett actually get a bit of an upset win over half of Pirates Den in 12:44 when Barnett submits Norton. So I just see this as sort of like a flash, like MMA style lock in, and with Norton has nowhere to go, so he has to tap out despite like staying in the hold for a little bit. And this gets a 54 as Azuka tears the rotator cuff. Sasaki and Norton haven't become extreme partners, but I already knew that. Barnett gets a 58, Suzuki gets a 57, Sasaki gets a 52, and Norton gets a 49. And that's unfortunate for everybody gets continuing to get injured. And then in our next match, and Tanahashi gets another defense of the under 30 Tokyo title under his belt as he defeats Yoshi in 10 minutes by submission. Just a straight win, continue to look Tanahashi, look like a star. As this gets a 63, Tanahashi gets a 74, and Yoshi gets a 36. But then post-match, as Tanahashi is celebrating, out of nowhere, Bob Sapp and Kazuki Fujita destroy one half of the tag team champions. They pick up the tag belts and the under 30 belts, throw them on Tanahashi, and hold their arms up together. And it looks like these two men, who both have like MMA backgrounds, have made their challenge to the IWGP Tag Team Champions by attacking Hiroshi Tanahashi. So there you go. This gets a 70. Not that bad. And this is just something for Sapp and Fujita to do, as it'll be a big enough match for a summer struggle here. And then Suzuki defeats Nakanishi in a little over 13 minutes. This gets a 65. Unfortunately, Nakanishi is injured, but he's fighting through it because that's what these guys would actually do. But he doesn't look like a total jobber. Suzuki, though, eventually hits the Gotch pile driver for the pinfall victory and gets the 1-2-3. But then after the match, As Nakanishi is getting up, Suzuki locks him in the sleeper hold to try to knock him out completely. And that means the Pirates come out, and then that means the Shooters come out, of course, faced off each other. And, basically the Pirates push Suzuki off, and then Sasaki and Suzuki start pushing each other before New Japan officials, break everything apart as this gets a 57. And it looks like we have a new feud here between the Pirates Ginden and the Shooters. And then, in our main event, Nakamura and Nishimura get a big win over Rick Steiner and Animal in a little under 11 minutes when Nakamura submits Animal with a Shining Triangle. This gets a 66. So, again, long layoff in theory for these guys, so they take the job. And also, Nakamura, after jobbing twice to Goldberg in basically 2 straight shows, reminds everybody why he's the IWGP champion, as this gets, a solid win here, as, obviously it was, just big action, big moves, but in the end, Nakamura locks Animal in a hold and gets a submission. Nishimura gets a 57, Nakamura gets a 72, Animal gets a 62, and Steiner gets a 43. And not a selling shown because we'll look at these guys. So, that's about what I expected. I'm not expecting to have big matches, but they're really over, so that should also help things. Well, okay. Steiner's really over, Animal's less over. I think Animal's really over, Steiner's slightly less over, but they're over enough that in Japan that their appearance matters. And then we have a Nakamura Goldberg to end things as this gets a 70. And overall, the show itself gets a 64. So there we go. Nothing terrible, but that's basically what I expected for those first 2 shows. And I did double check, and the first show was a tour show as well. I just didn't realize that the production values being things on tour shows, because I guess you are what's we're looking for. You are basically setting them up to be shown on TV. So yeah, let's look at the mail. Azuka is out injured. Nakanishi, right? Let me see. Is this a long-term thing or? Okay, so. Oof. Okay, Azuka's. That makes things kind of difficult. Well, he's already out for a year, so even if he's out for longer. Okay, so he's now out for 6 months. That really kind of kills the shooter angle. Because now it's just, okay. I have an angle for this, but I'll have to, yeah. That's really unfortunate. Okay. I've got some interesting stuff to do, but, yeah. Anyway, I'll be back in just a second with the next big show from this tour. Right, it's now time for the next show we're showing in the video here, as it's time for the 6th show of the tour, as we're from Akita. But first I'm going to show you what's been going on in the previous matches in the tour. So on show number 3, from Shingu Gymnasium, in front of 1,300 people, we had Triano defeating Nagayo in a battle of young lions. We had Strong Dragon Kurame get a win over basically Anzawa, Kanemoto, and Milano, and you can see who got likely took the ball here. Note Anzawa. Norton wins a squash over Yoshi. Nagai and Kodaka defeat the Young Lion team. Suzuki gets a basically squash win over one of our mid-card veterans. Tiger Mask and Inoki get a big win over Takamura and Sugiura to basically consider their place as the top contenders to the junior tag titles. American Muscle make their 6-man debut, defeating Nagata, Tenzan, and Isuda. Again, Goldberg, Isuda took the pin here, but they get to look strong, especially against Nagata and Tenzan, as there's more brawling between those 2 groups. Sasaki gets a win over Barnett to sort of build up the turning between the shooters and Pirates Ginden over, even though the shooters are down to 2 people. And then the main event, Tanahashi and Blue Wolf, the tag champs, team up with Liger to defeat Nakamura, Nishimura, and Heat in just a fun 6-man tag, where Liger pins Heat to build up the heat for the junior tag match. Then we had, in the 4th show of the tour, Strong defeated Jado in a pre-show match. Sugiura and Takamura defeat Anzawa and Taguchi in a bit of a building heat up. Barnett wins a squash over Young Lion. Fujita defeats Isuda fairly quickly. Norton and Nakanishi defeats Goto and Yano in a squash match. Fujita and Nagai get a win over Blue Wolf and El Samurai as Fujita pins El Samurai. Nagata pins Rick Steiner in a big win for Nagata. Nishimura, Tiger Mask 4, and Inoki then team up as they defeat Shono, Shanti, and Koji Kanemoto, as this sort of sets up Tiger Mask and Inoki actually earning the junior tag shot. And then the main event, Road Warrior, Animal, and Goldberg team up to defeat Nakamura and Kodaka. This was a test to see if Kodaka had any good chemistry. Unfortunately, he didn't. What can you do? But Goldberg gets the win over Kodaka here in a very good main event match. And then in the final match before the show we're about to see here, Nagao defeats Taguchi in a battle between Alliance. Nakanishi gets a squash win over Yamamoto. Barnett and Suzuki get a squash win over Yano and Goto. Kodaka and Nagai team up again to defeat Yasuda and Yoshi. Fujita and Ishimori make a tag team defeat Sugawara and Takamura. Liger and El Samurai team up to defeat Crayman and Roderick Strong. Tanahashi and Heat team up in a battle of, match in a team of champions, defeat Scott Norton and Long Collection AT in a fun little match here. And then Word Animal actually gets the big win over Hiroshi Tenzan. And then in the main event, Nakamura and Nishimura actually get the win over Goldberg and Rick Steiner. And then they have Nakamura and Goldberg are having a showdown. And while Nakamura is basically, dealing with that, Chono comes down and takes out Nakamura. There we go. Now we've got basically 12 big matches here in Akita, and what I'm imagining is a big TV taping. We start out with basically Chono getting a squash win over Goto, but Goto gets to look a little bit fire as he's the Young Lion champion. As this gets a 58, Chono gets a 66, Goto gets a 35, and then post-match, Chono actually helps Goto up. Oops, let me push that through, sorry. Chono actually helps Goto up, slaps on the shoulder, whispers something in his ear, and then walks away, as this gets a 52. And then we have our 6-man junior tag as Long Collection AT, Takamura, and Sugawara all team up to defeat Anzawa, Nago, and Taguchi in 8 minutes when Collection AT summons Nago. Semi-squash win, this gets a 36, Sugawara gets a 39, Takamura gets a 47, Long Collection AT gets a 61, Taguchi gets a 34, Nago gets a 25, and Anzawa gets a 26. Nothing too terrible, but yeah, it was dinged because of all the pre-show workers, unfortunately. And then in a continuation of the feud here, Minoru Suzuki and Barnett get the win over Norton and Nakanishi here in a little under 13 minutes. When Suzuki hits Nakanishi with the Gotcha pile driver, Nakanishi sort of the little man on the totem pole here, so he can take the loss. But this is actually shockingly good. This honestly probably should have been better higher up on the card. But this gets a 68 as Barnett gets a 60, Suzuki gets a 67, Nakanishi gets a 60, and Norton gets a 60. And, as it looks like the two shooters left are going to do a big beatdown. Sasaki makes a save, and there's a stare down between him and Suzuki as the crowd pops as this gets a 50. Again, I have to do I just don't want to say it happened when it's actually big enough here, so I'll take the little ding as far as angles go. And then in a big win, Fujita and Ishimori get a win over Dragon and Curryman in a little under 14 minutes when Ishimori pins Curryman with Superstar Elbow. This gets a 60, Curryman gets a 62, Danielson gets a 60, Ishimori gets a 54, and Fujita gets a 32. Low ratings are mainly because they have no chemistry, even though I'm building them up despite that, as this gets a 60 overall, and a strong win for the heel team as they get a win over Dragon and Curryman. And then, in a big 6-man team, Bob Sapp teamed with Rick Steiner and Warrior Animal to get the win over one half of the tag champions in Blue Wolf, Tenzan and Nagata, all members of the New Japan Army, in 10 minutes when Sapp pins Blue Wolf. So this is just 6 guys beating the shit out of each other for 10 minutes. But in the end, Bob Sapp gets the win over one half of the tag champs, as this gets a 68, Nagata gets a 71, Tenzan gets a 73, Blue Wolf gets a 47, Animal gets a 61, Rick Steiner gets a 49, and Bob Sapp gets a 52. And then, in basically what's basically, I would say, booked as a test match for Yamamoto, Nakamura beats him in under 10 minutes. This gets a 59. Nakamura gets a 72. Yamamoto gets a 27. And then, in our semi-main event, Heat and Tiger Mask get the big win over Liger and El Samurai. When Heat submits El Samurai, this gets a 70. Continues to build up the Heat Liger match at Summer Struggle, as this gets a 56. Heat gets a 59, Samurai gets a 54, and Liger, because he's Liger, gets a 76. And then we have Goldberg defeating Kodaka in 7 minutes and 50 seconds with a jackhammer, which has a strong win and put Goldberg over, as this gets a 65, Goldberg gets a 63, and Kodaka gets a 59. And then we have the stare down once again, which gets an 80. And then in our main event, Fujita gets the big win over Tanahashi. It says it was a sleeper hold, but basically he just kicks him. This is MMA versus pro wrestling this time. MMA gets the big one to set up the tag title match, as this gets a 69, Fujita gets a 52, Tanahashi gets a 71, And we can officially set up after these shows 2 big matches for the Summer Struggle show. First, it's Bob Sapp and Kazuki Fujita teaming up to take on the tag team champions of Tanahashi and Blue Wolf in their first defense. That's fine. And also already booked his Mask and Inoue versus Collection AT and Kanemoto. So there we go. And also, I guess I can book officially after what happened in the build-up, Masahiro Chono versus Osama Nishimura. And overall, the show got us a 69, so not bad. Yeah, I mean, again, this is sort of the stuff you have to do to book things up. Next thing you guys will see is probably the last show for Summer Struggle. That's sort of a last sort of build up to the Summer Struggle show in Sapporo, and then obviously I'll go over the big shows here. Just so you guys know what WWE is doing, Ric Flair is the world champion, and Triple H is defeating RVD and Booker T. So yes, Triple H isn't happy enough defeating RVD and Booker T in one-on-one matches. He has to beat them in triple threat matches. Anyway, I'll be back in just a second with the next show in the tour. Well, not the next show, but the next show you guys will see in the tour. All right, and welcome everybody to the final, well, not the actual final shows, I've got one more, but the final setup show before the Summer Struggle big show, and unfortunately we had some interesting stuff going on. So these we're going to do this first. Let's go to the main page. So here, nope, that's not it. So look at our medical. Yeah, lots more people. First, Tenzan has a damaged spine, but he's working through it. Probably bad, and will probably do something really screwy happening eventually with him. But he's involved in a big match, so I gotta work him through. Then we got Animal with a dislocated shoulder, and he can only work angles for the next 23 days, which screws up the big Nagata and Tenzan versus Animal and Steiner match I was setting up. So I'm setting up something up new for this show. We've got, and then also we have Tiger Mask 4, who was set up for a junior tag title shot against who's now out for 15 days. So I'll figure out the first part of how I set everything up, or fixed everything after that all happened. So last show you guys saw was in beautiful Akita. So after that we had Inoue and Tiger Mask 4 defeating Taguchi and Anzola in a squash. We had Kodaka and Nagai teaming up once again to defeat Goto and Nagio in a squash. We had Nakanishi defeat Yanomaru in a squash. Then we had Suzuki defeating Yoshi. Then we had Blue Wolf and Tenzan defeating Yano and Goto. Then we had Steiner Animal teaming up to defeat Saito and Goto. Then we had some matches that mattered. Tanahashi teaming up with Liger to defeat Fujita and Wano Collection AT. And the best match on the show, we had Inoue, Heat, and Tiger Mask teaming up as that trio went along to defeat Strong, American Dragon, and Curryman. And I just realized I booked them twice in one show. Oops. Then we had Nakamura and Nishimura teaming up as part of Supernova Gun to defeat Chono and Yasuda in a 67. And surprisingly, Yasuda and Chono, and then main event, Josh Barnett got a big win over Scott Norton to continue that feud. Then we had Day Not 8 finishing up, as we had Curryman and Roderick Strong teaming up to defeat Taguchi and Kaya. We had Steiner and Animal defeating Yano and Yamamoto. Then we had Nagata and Tanahashi defeating Nago and Goto. And then we had Chono and Yoshi. And in this, Yoshi actually has great chemistry with Chono, so that's something interesting. Defeating Nishimura and Kodaka. Can you set up that Nishimura-Chono feud? Then we had Danielson defeating El Samurai. Barnett defeating Blue Wolf. Tiger Mask 4 defeating Wano Collection AT. Suzuki defeating Norton. And to continue that feud between Shooters and Pirates Gun. And then we had in the main event, Nakamura and Heat, the two champions, teaming up to defeat Liger and Tenzan in a 66. So fun stuff for that. And then in the final part of the show, a final setup show here, we had Taguchi defeating Anzola in a Battle of Young Lions, with Sasaki getting a win over Yamamoto, with Suzuki and Barnett defeating Kodaka and Goto. Then we had Liger and El Samurai defeating Sugawara and Takamura, with Steiner Animal defeating Nagio and Nagai, so that's where Animal got injured. We had Fujita and Ishimori getting a big win over Curryman and Roderick Strong. Then we had Tanahashi, Nagata, Blue Wolf, and Tenzan all teaming up as the New Japan Army, defeating Saito, Goto, Yasuda, and Yano. Then we had Nishimura and Nakamura defeating Chono and Yoshi. And finally, we had Kanemoto and Wano Collection AT defending the junior tag titles against Wataru and Heat in 67, just to sort of give Inoue his title shot. Obviously, Inoki and oh god, I'm blanking on his name now. Inoki and Tiger Mask will hopefully get another title shot eventually for them, but I just wanted to put that as a makeup as we're setting that replacement up in a moment here. So let's get rolling for the first of 3 shows in Sapporo, including these 2 setup shows, which you'll only see one on because the other one's just going to be a straight setup show where hopefully nobody will get injured. So let's get rolling with these shows as we set up everything for the actual now pay-per-view for the big summer show in Sapporo because we've got to make some changes. So first start out, starting things off with Kodaka and Nagai getting another win over Hiroshi Nagao and Yano, our 2 young lions, in 10 minutes, when Nagai submits Nagao in 37. This gets a 37. Nagai and Kodaka both get a 56. Or actually, no. Nagai gets a 56, Kodaka gets a 58. Yano gets a 26, and Nagai gets a 26. And then, after the match, Yano shockingly just begins beating up Hiroshi for a couple minutes before New Japan officials break him off. Then he walks away and walks to the back. So interesting that he's seemed to be upset with his young lion partner, as this gets a 24. Moving on from that, we have Nishimura getting basically a impressive win over what seems like Chono's new ally, Ituki, since they've teamed up in the last couple of nights, since they have the chemistry. And Nishimura gets a win over Yoshi in 9 minutes with the backslide, as it gets a 55. A little way to make Nishimura look strong before he has to face off against a legend like Shona, even though Nishimura is quite the legend himself. But Nishimura gets a 57, and Yoshi gets a 34. Kazuki Yoshi. Moving forward, we have basically the setup for the match at Summer Showdown. Basically, with Roadrunner and Wild, if Steiner beats Tenzan, he gets a match with Nagata at Summer Showdown at Sapporo, and here he gets the big one with pinning Tenzan with the Steiner driver. So this is actually a battle of big tombstone finishers from people who probably shouldn't have tombstone finishers, and Steiner gets the big win here, as this gets a 53, Steiner gets a 51, Tenzan gets a 55, so yeah, that's unfortunate that he's had injury that's going to hurt him for the next couple months, but not the end of the world. And then we have Barnett defeating Nakanishi in 13 minutes by submission to continue that feud, as this gets a 61, Nakanishi gets a 56, Barnett gets a 57. And then, in a 4-way match to determine the new number 1 contenders to the junior tag titles, Fujita and Ishimura get the win over Dragon and Curryman, Taguchi, and Inoue, as Taguchi fills in for Inoue, and Takamura and Sugawara. Ishimura pins Sugawara with her Hurana. This gets a 53, Curryman gets a 60, Tiosen gets a 59, Ishimura gets a 50, Fujita gets a 36, Inoue gets a 43, Taguchi gets a 33, Sugawara gets a 42, and Takamura gets a 45. So big win for Fujita and Ishimori as they win the junior tag title shot against Milano Trinity and Koji Kanemoto. And then in sort of what's put together as sort of a random draw super tag team match, Suzuki and Fujita teaming up defeat Sasaki and Tanahashi when Fujita pins Tanahashi it's a sleep pulled, but it's something else. This gets a 71, probably going to be the best match on the show, as Fujita gets a 53, Suzuki gets a 69, Tanahashi gets a 73, and Sasaki gets a 65. And then another match is basically set up to keep the crowd happy, since sort of the setup matches weren't on the show because we had to finagle everything around. Milano Exchange, AT, and Koji Kanemoto get the big win over the 2 people who will be facing off over the junior heavyweight title, over Liger and Heat, as they can't get along, and Kanemoto submits Heat with the ankle hold and a 72. And Liger and Heat have great chemistry, which I didn't realize. Koji gets a 68, Milano gets a 62, Liger gets a 74, and Heat gets a 58. In the post-match, Liger and Heat basically face off to a 67. And then in our main event of the evening, in a fun little match of basically superstars teaming up with the Young Lions, Chono and Goto. Of course, Chono beat Goto and then helped the Young Lion up. Defeat Nakamura and Yamamoto in 13 minutes when Chono submits Yamamoto with the FTS, which I think is just the STF, reworded and probably with a funky name. As this gets a 64, Chono looks strong before his match against Nishimura. And then Yamamoto gets a 29, Nakamura gets a 73, Goto gets a 38, and Chono gets a 67. Unfortunately, no chemistry notes of a positive way, but what can you do? But Goto is almost there. Yamamoto is not quite there, unfortunately, for him. In the post-match, Nakamura is in the ring. Goldberg comes out, they get face to face, and then there's the final brawl to really heat things up before the big Sapporo show. And overall, this gets a 69. Nice. So yeah, this sets up things, which I'll go over the pre-booking I have and the other matches, which I'll just add in just so you guys can see it in a moment here. Okay, so to do some pre-booking for you guys, it won't matter much. So it's going to be Mono-Click JT, Tajiri Ishimori, Minoru Fujita, and Koji Kanemoto. Yes, I know. And they have not faced off people, which is interesting. Then we're going to pre-book a singles match. It's going to be Rick Steiner versus Yuji Nagata. Yes, the internet would hate this fact that I was, quote unquote, wasting Nagata. Whoops. And I think I booked that match for the wrong show. Yeah, hold on. Modify booking. I'm sorry. This should be at the... There we go. And yeah, so it's going to be Rick Steiner versus Yuji Nagata. Well, not going to be the best match ever, but still. Let's see, what else is pre-booked officially? Oh, right. No, I threw it. Oh, that probably would have helped. See, this is what I'm bad at sometimes, is actually adding the matches. Suzuki versus Suzuki, as you guys should have seen set up for the last couple shows. So those are our big matches. There'll be obviously other matches on the show, but this is sort of the big stuff. And I'll be back with that Summer Showdown in Sapporo in just a moment. Alright, it's now time for the big show of the tour, Summer Struggle in Sapporo at the 10,000 seat Sapporo. I'm blanking on the name. Anyway, let's go completely down the card. We start off with, of course, a big 8-man junior tag involving people who aren't involved in any of the other big matches tonight. And then we have the debut of a new tag team as Yoshi and Goto team up to take on Ryoto and Nego. Then we have the debut of the Wild Dogs. That's Nagai, Kodaka, and their new partner, Yano, of course, who basically turned on Nego at the last show that you guys show, versus basically Yasuda, Yamamoto, and Goto. We have Mono Collection AT and Kanemoto defending the junior tag titles against Ishimori and Fujita. We have Steiner versus Nagata in sort of the match that was set up because Tenzan got injured. Rodoriano got injured. We have Chono versus Nishimura in a battle of, a legend versus a near legend. Then we have Tenzan versus Barnett versus Norton, basically a match that would be basically announced near the day of the show. I am basically thinking the last, and not even the last TV show, but basically like the day of, as basically a bonus match. Then we have Sasaki versus Suzuki, as that's been building it for this entire tour. We have the tag title defense of Tanahashi Blue Wolf versus Sap and Fujita. We have Liger versus Heat for the junior heavyweight title, and we have the main event of Goldberg versus Nakamura. So let's get rolling with this show. And in our opening 8-man junior tag, Inoue, Strong, Dragon, and Greatman defeat Akiya, Taguchi, Takemura, and Sugiura in 11 minutes when Inoue submits Inzoa. This gets a 57, and basically a strong win for Inoue since he's not in the junior tag title match. This is a big win for him, and gives him something for this tour that got sort of screwed for him. Strong gets a 53, Kerman gets a 67, Brandon gets a 66, Inoue gets a 46, Sugiura gets a 41, Takemura gets a 47, Taguchi gets a 34, and Akira gets a 27. And then post-match, we have Yoshi and Goto teaming up to defeat Ryoto and Nego in 9:47 when Goto pins Nego with a missile dropkick. This gets a 28, mostly because of the pre-show thing. So Goto gets a 37, Yoshi gets a 35, Nego gets a 25, Ryoto gets a 32, and yeah. Some off-your-game notes, and of course Andrea Ryoto, but what can you do? And then we have the debut of the Wild Dogs, which gets a 35. This is just a quick 2-minute charisma angle as they come out together. And then we have Nagai, Kodaka, and Yano beating Yamamoto, Yasuda, and Goto in 9:48 when Nagai pins Yamamoto. This gets a 37. Yano gets a 25, Baraka gets a 60, that guy gets a 55, Goto gets a 28, Yusuke gets a 42, and Yamamoto gets a 32. So strong win for the Wild Dogs in their debut. And then we have the junior tag title events, which honestly should have been higher on the card, as Fujita and Tajiro Ishimori get the big win over Mono Collection AT and Cody Kanemoto in a little under 13 minutes when Ishimori pins Mono Collection AT with a superstar elbow to win the junior tag titles. This gets a 69, Kanemoto gets a 72, Mono Collection AT gets a 71, Fujita gets a 35, and Ishimori gets a 57. So big win for Ishimori and Fujita as they win the junior tag titles. Then the win match is actually better than I expected. God, Nagata's good. Yuji Nagata pins Rick Steiner in 9:15 by pinfall the wrist clutch exploder. This isn't quite a squash, but it's just basically straight up a win where Nagata looks good as it's basically put over. He's a favorite for the G1 coming up in a couple weeks. And then in a really good match, Chono defeats Nishimura in 18:10 with a shining Yuzuka kick. This is built slowly and worked like an old school New Japan match with lots of holds, lots of reversals, lots of mat work, but eventually Chono takes over with some big strikes and hits the Yuzuka kick to get the big win. This gets a 75, Nishimura gets a 59, Chono gets a 76. And then at post-match, Chono helps Nishimura up. It looks like these veterans are going to have a handshake of support when out of nowhere, Yoshi and Goto attack Nishimura from behind. Chono helps them out, and then Chono declares the birth of New Japan Black. This gets a 44, and yeah, shouldn't have had them fighting for that long, but oh well. But yeah, so we got some new stables here. As we got now the Wild Dogs sort of on the undercard, we have Chono, Goto, and Yoshi as New Japan Black, and they'll probably have more members, and so we're just going to use this build that up. And then in sort of honestly, the match I just sort of threw together, get these guys on the card. Tenzan defeats Barnett and Norton in 15:05 when Tenzan pins Norton with a Tenzan 2-minute driver. Actually, no, this is what we'll make it as. This match, yeah. So yeah, actually what I'll do is, this is me booking as I look at it. It's basically Norton is now knocked out of the G1. He loses his spot in the G1 for being the man pin. So it gets a 67, Tenzan gets a 57, Barnett gets a 64, Norton gets a 58. And then in another big match, Minoru Suzuki gets the huge win here, defeating Sasaki in 15:20 by submission. This gets a 73. Sasaki and Suzuki have good chemistry, so that's good. Not enough selling. I mean, these two I'm not that surprised, as Suzuki gets a 74 and Sasaki gets a 69. Suzuki leaves the winner, but what happens post basically is all the members of Pyro's Contend start to argue. Sasaki gets up angry. Norton, Pyro's going to come out to save him. He pushes them away. Nakanishi yells at him. Norton then pushes at Nakanishi. Tenryu comes out and basically argues with them all. And it looks like we might have a stable falling apart. As this gets a 44. Again, these guys not doing these short angles helps, but it's still a New Japan, Puroresu fed. And then, okay, that's interesting. In a decent match, Tanahashi and Blue Wolf defeat Sap and Fujita in 10 minutes. So this is just an all-out match right from the start, as Tanahashi pins Fujita with the high fly flow. And then we get defense number 1 of their tag titles. This gets a 71, Fujita gets a 46, Sap gets a 51, Blue Wolf gets a 53, and Tanahashi gets a 78. And yeah, Fujita completely phoned in his performance. I just imagine him barely selling everything and getting up right after the pin. But still, Tanahashi gets the big win over Fujita here, and Fujita and Blue will defend the tag titles. And then Liger, in a huge match, wins back the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Title, defeating Heat in a little under 15 minutes with a sheer drop brainbuster. You can imagine how this match is. Lots of kick, move, dives out, but in the end, Liger is Liger and wins back the Junior Heavyweight Title. And then post-match, as this gets 77, Liger with 73, Heat with 60. Post-match, Liger celebrates, and Ultimo Dragon comes onto the ring one more time, and they have a confrontation, and it looks like these men will face off sooner than later. And then, in our main event, and about that great heat and decent wrestling, Bill Goldberg defeats Nakamura in 9:38 by pinfall with a jackhammer to win the IWGP Heavyweight Title. So this gets a 76, Goldberg gets a 63, Nakamura gets a 74. So I imagine this is just these guys throwing bombs right at the end. And in the end, Goldberg is able to get out of the way of the Kinshasa, hit the spear, hit the jackhammer, and win the IWGP title. And afterwards, Goldberg celebrates to a 72, and overall, does get to 75, which again is better than I thought it would be. So Heat. Let's see what else. What other match was better than I thought? Oh yeah, Nagata. Nagata, you're a god. And honestly, let's throw it to Osamu as well. So I'm just going to do some quick checks of some people's overness, and then we'll go from there. As next up will be the G1 Climax. That'll be basically a two episode tour because of what you'd expect with me showing every single show. I'll go over the full everything as far as who's in what in that video. But yeah, let's see here. Inoki, yes, but good solid show. Sky Perfect is not happy, so let's first see here. Reset. Roll perception, major stars. Do we have any yet? Okay, Chono's fucking Chono. He sells an 88, so yeah. If we look at stars, do we have anybody new? Okay, so we have Goldberg, who, yeah, now is up to an 81 in Japan, so that's good. Nakamura lost a little bit by losing, but he didn't really lose anything. He's still Nakamura. Nagata's still Nagata, so that's good. Let's see, is anybody else in Up and Mold know that I'm shocked by? Heat. Did Heat lose? No, he lost the point for dropping. Tanahashi. Tanahashi's right at that level where he could break through. Barnett. Barnett's at his same spot. Liger. Let me look at Liger real quick. Liger's okay, yeah. He's not quite the guy he was, but rebuilding him. Did Suzuki lose a lot by dropping to Sasaki? Okay, yeah, he's been losing a little bit, so. And then let's look at Suzuki. Okay, he's actually getting quite over. That's cool. And Dragon comes in at a 73. I think, yeah, Fujita, I've completely killed his popularity, which I'm fine with. But yeah, that's it. If next up will be the G1, which like I said will be two videos, basically the first half and the second half, along with finals. But that's it for now. If you enjoyed this, go ahead and give it a like, comment below on what you're enjoying and not enjoying. And of course, subscribe to this channel for plenty of TEW 2020 content, including this series and the WCW 2005 series. But that's it for now, so I'll talk to you later, and adios. Have a good one.